Misery Loves Company, Part 2. Praise. Hyter in the big tub with his washcloth. Cain and Abel, the plunger. Unwritten rules, anything goes. The crack of the skull, like pennies. Misery Loves Company. I believe that was the theme of a previous chapter. Something about me hiding in a barn with squid way back when it was still hot, and summer seemed like it would go on forever. Well, with winter on the horizon, that particular cliche reared its ugly head again. Maybe misery truly does love company. Maybe all cliches are accurate. At home that night, I was praised for my race, as was Hyter. We even got a call from our grandpa, my father's father, which was a rare luxury as my grandfather had 32 grandkids. That phone call was something my father was truly proud of. I could hear it in his voice as he spoke on the phone after I had accepted Grandpa's congratulations. It meant the world to me to hear him talk about me with actual pride in his voice again. Unfortunately, something sour turning in me made it impossible to enjoy. I was restless and grouchy that night. I was spiteful even. There was something poisonous within me, something I had yet to expel. It showed itself in my mood at the table. My dad had to tell me to thank my mother for dinner, and my mom stared at me with big sunny-side-up eyes when I refused to answer a question about my pleasure at finally having earned the #1 sweatshirt. I had shrugged off several comments from all three of my family members designed to lead me to tell of my race, how I responded to my fall, what I thought it had been that had tripped up Moats and me. Eventually, Hyter spoke up, saying, "How come you're being such a jerk?" Dad raised his eyebrows after he said that, and not at Hyter. A yellowish-brown wash of acidic guilt was bathing my brain. I felt like I couldn't inhale. I felt cheated out of my triumphant moment. Of course, I took it out on Hyter. He liked to take baths after races. We had a big claw-footed tub, and he would fill it with bubbles and sit in there until his hands and feet were as wrinkled as a monkey's. He was in there soaking, a washcloth covering his face when I went in and sat down on the toilet next to the tub. He pulled the washcloth off his face. "You're not taking a crap when I'm in here," he said. That wasn't my reason for being there, but I didn't like being told what to do. "I might," I said. "No, you're not," he said, raising his body up out of the sudsy water with a gentle slosh. "I will if I have to crap," I said. He gave me an eye and slid back down into the water when he saw I had no intention of actually using the toilet. "You know," I said, finally spitting it out, "Coach got fired because of us." Hyter put the washcloth back over his eyes. "Because of you," he said without any emotion, "if it was you at all." The grinding in my head that had been going on all night ceased, and something cracked and gave. I nearly leapt up from the toilet. It was both of us, and you know it. It was Dad's call. Hyter didn't even move the washcloth from his face. "It was you, if it was either of us," he said in a monotone. "I never said anything about him, nothing bad." It is a mark of brotherhood, a stain going back to Cain and Abel, to want to murder your brother on occasion. And not just your identical twin because he looks like you and people mistake you for him. Cain and Abel weren't twins. While your friends may make you fist-clenching mad, and while you may scuffle with strangers to stave off embarrassment or in the face of injustice, only shared blood has the power to generate flashes of anger so profound as to create the temporary insanity necessary for murder, at least in normal people. Serial killers excluded, obviously. The plunger next to the toilet was the most weapon-like object available to me. I suppose I could have tossed the plugged-in radio that sat next to the sink into the tub and done the job with the use of electricity, frying him. However, an old-fashioned beating to death with a wooden stick appealed more to me for some reason. The first blow was to his sternum, washcloth covering his eyes. He didn't even see it coming. The sound was like a bat hitting a baseball, a dull crack. The air was full of water then. My left foot slipped out from under me at the same time his fist hit my right shoulder. I slammed onto the hard tile floor, my left buttock taking the brunt of my weight. A wave, several gallons of bathwater, slopped out of the tub onto my legs as I wriggled on the tile floor like an upended turtle. Hyter, completely naked, was then on top of me. My anger evaporated as quickly as it had developed. "Get the hell off me, you homo!" I squealed. I wasn't actually afraid that my brother was gay. I had no real fear that he was incestuously attracted to me, or that he wanted to express anything but hatred for me when he jumped on me the way he did. It was just that his murderous temper had exploded on me at the same time my murderous and mysterious anger evaporated completely. I was no longer angry. I was scared. Calling him a homosexual was a survival tactic, the only one I could think of. I hoped to make him self-conscious of his position, naked and on top of me. It didn't work. "I'm going to kill you," he yelled. He jammed his hand in my mouth and scraped at my gums with his fingernails. The coppery taste of blood gagged me. My anger erupted again. I attempted to hit him, I'm not proud to admit, where it hurts the most. I mean, there it was, dangling in the air. In doing so, however, all unwritten rules concerning fights between us were rescinded. I would soon regret my decision. Our fights, and we had a good blowout at least once a month for many years, were governed by some basic rules. 1, no damage to the face. 2, no blows to the balls. With one hard shift of my knee, I'd opened up a world of potential pain upon myself. After a Hyter dodged my shot between his legs, he made this clear to me by screaming, "You're dead." Terror shot through me again. I took him at his word, and I immediately started apologizing, profusely. I'm sorry, I shouted, but I couldn't break the rule and then apologize and expect to get away with it. And I didn't. Hyter slammed my nose with his wet forehead. The dull echo of my skull bouncing off the tile floor filled my head for the next several seconds, then things slowed way down. The hot, wet creep of blood, like warm milk spilling over my face, was the only sensation I registered for a hazy space of time. Then there was the weight lifted off my chest, the distant voice of my dad, his voice confused and a little frightened. The sound of Hyter crying and explaining in the blurred image of him still standing there, still dripping wet and naked. Then the warmth of the blood and the taste of it was my world entire. I lived in a world of pennies, liquid pennies trickling down my throat.